No.
Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Zrinka, how's it going?
Oh, good. Let's see how it goes. This is a big experiment.
I feel like the Type Lab was the biggest experiment.
It actually was, and it was great success. People loved it. It was so good. People wanted more every week, and you know, but it was really, really nice. I wish every Type Lab was like that.
Yeah, you guys were the best MCs, I think.
I wish.
Okay, we are ready to start. Estamos listos para empezar. Ya estamos en vivo en Facebook. Le damos la bienvenida a todos ustedes, a todos los que nos están viendo en Facebook también. Everyone that is watching us on Facebook and everyone that is here in Zoom, in the Zoom meeting, welcome. We are so glad and happy to having you there. And also we are so happy to have Zrinka here leading this TypeCooker. We are just excited about that. Estamos muy contentos de tener a Zrinka. A ver con qué loqueras va a salir. Las recetas ya están publicadas, están en nuestro fondo de pantalla. The recipe is in our background. Las vamos a explicar. We're going to explain the recipes. So, the recipes in 4 parts. Las recetas están en 4 partes o 4 niveles, o 4 levels, we can say also. So, depending of your level of the amount of stress that you want to have, you can choose to go forward or to keep yourself in the same level. Entonces, estos 4 niveles son opcionales, se pueden quedar solamente con el nivel 1 o avanzar hacia los demás niveles. Zrinka, you like to explain?
Yeah. Today we're gonna do just things a bit different and more. We still have the rules, but a bit less rules, and it's more open to your interpretation. First of all, the word is going to be food related, and you get to do whatever you want with the letters. You do have to complete some of the requirements. The word is a kroštola, which is a type of a dessert that I'm going to link it to you. It's like a fried leafy dough sprinkled with sugar. Someone commented that it's something similar to buñuelo, and it's kind of on that side of the dessert. What I would like to see more than your faces here in Zoom is your drawings, or anyone who wants to share their drawings while we're doing this would be better to be able to comment and follow immediately. And the recipe today has a few steps. Besides those few steps, we are doing it in 2 iterations. In the first part, which will be like 20-minute sketching part, you will, after you read the recipe, you get to just like throw a bunch of ideas out. Don't think too much, about coloring or making it pretty. Just try to sketch different ideas. And then after 20 minutes, we will revise those and continue on building 1 or 2 of them, whatever we choose, probably just 1, to continue to building in towards the recipe. And I'm going to let Jen translate this because I forgot I have to make short sentences. Sorry.
Gracias, Zrinka. Vamos a trabajar con una receta que es diferente a lo que hemos venido haciendo. Algo importante que debemos de entender todos, que vamos a dibujar por 10 o 20 minutos. 10 minutes, or did you say 10 or 20? Ok, vamos a dibujar por 20 minutos. Vamos a bocetar diferentes opciones, rápidas, casuales. No nos vamos a quedar solamente con una opción, sino vamos a tratar de hacer diferentes opciones durante estos primeros 20 minutos. Una vez pasados estos 20 minutos, ya vamos a elegir, vamos a comentar sobre las opciones y pasar a los siguientes niveles. En mi cámara van a poder ver los niveles. me voy a poner como spotlight. Entonces, voy a ponerlo en inglés. This is the recipe. So the first part is no baseline, no counter shapes, only rounded shapes, Roman construction, contrast that is not based on tools, with regular, weight, bold, serif, small and shy, and uppercase. Entonces, en español sería algo así. Sin línea base, quiere decir que no debe de ser visible una línea base o no deben de seguir una línea base. Sin contraformas, entonces las letras no tienen que tener contraformas. Solo formas redondas, construcción romana, contraste no caligráfico, ancho regular, peso negro, remates pequeños y tímidos, que apenas se vean los rematitos, y cajas mayúsculas. Entonces recuerden, por esta primera parte vamos solamente a bocetar por unos 20 minutos, y si tienen dudas, pregunten, pueden preguntar en inglés o en español. If you have any questions, you can make them in Spanish or English. So I think if Zrinka doesn't have any more to add, we can start the 20 minutes period for sketching.
Yeah, unless anyone, I'm here to answer any questions. What is the non-calligraphic contrast? It's a type of contrast that is not tool-based, so it's not dependent on any brush or a pen. It depends more about balancing the amount of black and white in the letter. You get to hear, you get to interpret it freely here based on how you want to draw the word. So you don't have to follow any strict angles.
El contraste no caligráfico es el que no esté basado en alguna herramienta de caligrafía, es decir, no va a ser ni contraste de expansión, ni contraste de traslación, o no puedes saber de dónde viene ese contraste, si de un pincel o de una pluma. Tiene que estar medio oculto el origen de ese contraste.
And Calder here asked, we'll be drawing multiple ideas for the same word. You can experiment with a composition or shapes. It doesn't have to be an entire word at once. It can be just a few letters from it. Whatever ideas you have now for the start, just to get it out.
Entonces, recuerden que vamos a dibujar diferentes opciones con la misma palabra. O sea, tenemos que bocetar rápido, casual. No se claven tanto en el detalle. Aquí, la verdad, es más trabajo de exploración que de refinamiento. Recuerden, 20 minutos y empezamos ya.
Also, if you want to point towards your work, your iPads, your papers, whatever you're drawing, so that we can, if I see something I can comment, feel free to do that. That would be great. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Thanks for joining.
I'm doing well. I'll do some drawing, but I can show a little bit.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.
¿Existe alguna duda de la receta aquí o en Facebook? De los que nos están viendo en Facebook. Carla, la receta está en el grupo, está publicada en el grupo de Facebook. Anyone has any question about the recipe or the methodology? I'm gonna attach the recipe to the chat if someone wants to have it in.
How is the no counter shapes rule applying here?
In a way that we're going to be adding counters separately. So you need to draw a shape that's actually just full black, and in a way that it can be recognized as that letter, still fit these requirements, but not have shaped counters. It might be confusing, so you get to also draw ideas and experiment a little bit, explore, see how you would do it.
La regla de no contraformas, tienen que dibujar las letras sin las contraformas, porque en el siguiente nivel ustedes van a se va a requerir agregar las contraformas, pero de una manera más constructivista, no tan caligráfica. Entonces, por eso es importante no dibujar contraformas en esta primera etapa.
I have a question. So when we are starting with the basic chef, and then in the next stage we are doing the pro chef, and so on. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, if you want to implement everything at once, if you don't want to do it by the stage, feel free to do it. It's just so that it's more easy to work on it.
Si quieren dibujar todo o contemplando todos los niveles a la vez, son libres de hacerlo. Les recomendamos que se vayan a lo mejor primero por el nivel 1, pero también son libres de dibujar todo lo que quieran. Leo dice que tiene algo que mostrar. Adelante, Leo.
That was quick. Let's see.
A ver.
Nice.
Let me spotlight you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I see it fits all the requirements so far. Counters, for example, in K, the counter where two diagonals meet might be too pronounced for this step, or in R, but okay. It's a good sketch. In the next phase, we can work on it a bit more. Or also you could, for example, in the S, I like how you just use the top corner of the S to suggest that it's an S, even though it's basically just a square. It does look a bit heavier than bold, but I think it's fine. It's something that can be resolved in the next step once we add counters. I think there might be an issue with L and E, because E has these, they're joined, which is not the best solution right now. It would be the best to separate two shapes and work on them, and then later on make maybe draw a few more ideas for the ligature. Also in the E, I see you added these two lines as like a smally counter. Maybe try to sketch a few more ideas how to resolve that issue without adding a line inside, because it's something that's only appearing in the E, or maybe you want to apply that to the other letters also.
Muy bien.
Okay, no. That's
no,
it for
no,
now.
Please.
So
okay.
Is this your Chef Basic, I suppose, right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I have a question on the chat. Yeah, the tricky thing is dealing with weight when you don't have the counters, because the counters determine your weight. This will also mean that you might have to alter the width. It's tricky, but it is possible. Like, just feel free to sketch it for now, and then we can choose from the ideas.
Ok, recuerden que ahora es tiempo de bocetar, de explorar. Vamos a ir con Dafne, que está mostrando que nos deja ver lo que está haciendo. Vamos a stalkearla. De hecho, creo que es algo que faltó en la receta de Leo, que le faltaron como líneas rectas, ¿no? Porque la receta está pidiendo por líneas redondas.
¿Redondas?
I'll maybe suggest for now to not draw in outlines immediately. It's going to be like an extra final step. For now, it's the best to try to experiment with full black shapes.
Okay.
Let's go with Mark Davis.
Oh, already. Let's see.
Hello.
Hey, oh, nice. Okay.
Quick and dirty.
Yeah. Nice. The K and R still have a lot of counter space. Let's see what we could do with it to reduce that. Only rounded shapes, that's fine. I don't see any serifs really. There may be too small and too shy. It would be nice to add some. The contrast, it's tricky, but the having consistent contrast, just try to, like, for example, in K you have an R, there's also like a lot of contrast where the diagonal center the shapes. S then again has this very unified contrast. On U, we don't know what's happening, which is fine because there's no counter. So maybe try to work the other shapes, thinking more about a U, and think about how to add the serifs on these.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Also after those, but working on spacing is something that can be done afterwards, where you can also just like cut the letters and try to respace them, because now we have a lot of uneven spacing. It doesn't feel that pronounced because the word is dancing on its own and we don't have a strict baseline. But also the balance of white space between the letters will determine how the black one appears to us. So between S and T, we have a lot of space. Between U and L, we have not enough. Between L and E, also very tiny. Also, some widths of the letters are not consistent, like K is very wide, S is very narrow, E is also very wide. So try to maybe even out those things. So very nice. Thank you.
Veo que todos están trabajando con unas líneas base muy conservadoras. Recuerden que parte de la receta es no línea base. Y también veo como que están olvidando las serif en los remates. Entonces los remates deben de existir y ser pequeñitos. I see that everyone is working quite conservative with the baseline. So remember that you can go crazy now. Now is the time to go crazy with Zrinka. Also remember the tiny shy serifs. Don't forget about them.
Yeah, I sent you the photo of the food. If that might be inspiring for no baseline and composition ideas. It should be like stacking the letters on top of each other, or make it's just like a pile of letters, or whatever you want to do with them. If you want to put them on a plate, or you want to build a certain shape with them, feel free to experiment. Don't feel the need to match a certain baseline. Also, we didn't say anything about the height of the letters. Maybe that's a little element you can manipulate to balance the width. Feel playful. There's rules, but there's also no rules. I mean, if it works in the end, it's good.
Now we are with Eduardo Aire. Estamos con Eduardo Aire. Oh.
Hola. Hello. How are you?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I forget the serif, so
Yeah, everyone
started
is.
to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Everyone is at
it-
first. I see drawing these like very bubbly black
I'm fine.
shapes.
Yes. I think that this is not that shy serif.
That's fine. I think the first step in general is just like drawing a lot of black, and then you get to like shave it off or add more stuff as needed. They are all rounded, except I see the top of the U doesn't feel that rounded, or maybe the stems of the L and E. It's quite interesting the way your the acrylic is entering K and kind of giving it a counter shape. Oh, that's also nice. Oh yeah, there's a little serifs. Still, there's like a lot of counter in R. Maybe try to make them like less defined now and think more about just having like a black, see it as like black spots on a paper, and how you can balance them out and then try to like shave off the details. It does look a bit heavier than bold. Try to make it a little bit lighter before we move on to the stage of adding counters. And
Okay,
also
thank you.
serifs on all of them, yeah. Nice, thank you, Eduardo.
Zrinka.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Did someone call me?
Yeah, I'm Pulpo.
Hey, Pulpo. Oh, that's funky. Nice. Oh, okay. Very nice exploration. The K might not, is maybe lacking a bit more definition or not definition to be read as K. Also the acrylic on the S. It's not very clear. There's some kind of stuff. Oh no, it is fine. I think maybe some white space issues. The thing is, you are drawing immediately in the outline, so it's harder to judge. Just outline is kind of the last step that we're gonna do. So if you could color these shapes just real quick to get the idea of how the black of the shape relates to this white space in between, we can see that we have this like big gap that is formed between T, U, L, and D.
Okay.
And that's very pronounced. And maybe with drawing L differently or T differently, there's some manipulation to be done with width or height of the letters to reduce that space and to form more like a unified composition.
Perfect.
Yeah, but very good. Thank you so much.
Gracias, Pulpo. En pocas palabras, Zrinka le dijo que todo muy bien, pero que intente dibujar las letras un poco más, que sean más entendibles o que sean menos ambiguas, y que corrija algunos problemas de espaciado. Eso fue como a grandes rasgos lo que decía Zrinka. ¿Quién más quiere mostrar? Vamos 15 minutos, nos quedan 5 minutos.
Por acá.
Iván?
Here, Iván.
Go ahead.
Ooh. Oh, wow, that's a lot of ideas. Nice. I love how you try to experiment with black and white, negative and positive. Very nice. The only thing, for example, in the positive or the black one at the bottom, there's too much counter space. The shapes are too defined, like they're immediately recognizable. Maybe it will be good to like step back and make them less clear. Like try to imagine the same composition, but as if you apply like a blur filter, and then all the shapes become blurry, but still you can say that it's K, you can say that it's R, but the counter is not so visible. Also, the first example is very nice, where you try to build out a shape by drawing everything around the letter. I think that's a very interesting approach, and if you feel like it will be good to work on it. It just needs to now just try to make it fit a bit more the requirements, like make it rounded, bold, a bit less counter space, so it's kind of less defined because we're going to be adding the counter later on. But I see you already went like a bit far, so maybe like step back and try to imagine it as like a first sketch where you have just like this vague idea of what you're doing, and it's not so defined. Very nice. Thank you.
Dice Zrinka que le gustó mucho lo que dibujó y le parece muy bien que se haya adelantado tanto, que se le hace muy interesante el manejo de la primera opción, de cómo está trabajando más lo negro, o sea, las contraformas. Está trabajando sobre las contraformas y que igual ella le recomendaría que trabaje más sin contraformas para después agregarle las contraformas. Gracias, Iván.
Gracias.
Who's next? Let me see. Who is Angie? Are you?
Federico.
Sorry, Angie is. Oh, nice. Very nice composition, playful. I can already eat it off the iPad. I think at this stage, I think you also went to the second step immediately and did the counters. It's totally fine, but it would be nice to also just go one step back and try to like remove those counters and see how still you can make that shape recognizable. Make everything rounded. Make sure the serifs are rounded and the shapes are rounded. Yeah, but it's fine. It's a very, very nice sketch. You can just now build on top of it. You can keep the composition and try to make it more round, less counters. Yeah, that's it. Everything else is fine, I think.
Cool.
Very
thanks.
nice. Thank you.
Zrinka ya está imponiendo su dictadura. Dice que si no sigan la receta, los va a castigar.
If you are not following the no recipe, that's the issue.
Thanks, Angie. Vamos con Federico.
Hey.
Estoy 2 veces. ¿Puedes compartirme en la otra? Ahí está. Thank you. Sí.
Okay. So the number 3, very also interesting exploration of white and negative space. It would be good to see that example with fill and not just the outline, just so that we can see what's actually happening with the shapes, because now when you have the outline, it might be confusing. For example, the counter in the E becomes a single line, then in between T and U, there's also a line, but there's also like black space. Also between S and T, we have a line, and then again, the black space. So I think before we move to the step of using just the outlines, try to draw with a fill and resolve the issue of how black and white interact. Because if you do just outline, you have white and black, and then again black, and then again white, and then it gets kind of dense. Also, I think the shapes are a bit too specific. The counters are too pronounced, especially in the number 2 and 1.
Yes.
We're gonna be adding counters later, following a different rule where counters are just these straight geometric shapes applied on top. So for now, I would suggest that you try to make like rounded shapes that don't really have a clear counter. You can also play with the idea of number 3 and just make it a fill, and then see what you can do. Like how can you build the word with just like white space.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias, Federico. En pocas palabras le dijo que cuidara mucho la relación de blanco y negro, y sobre todo le hizo énfasis de que cuidara cuando dos fustes se están uniendo, ¿no? Porque la letra o la palabra se pierde, se fusionan ahí las letras. Entonces ahí concuerdo mucho, Federico. Cuida mucho esas partes donde los fustes se están uniendo y se está volviendo como una masa negra total. Muy bien.
Okay.
Igual te recomendaría dibujar con lápiz o con algo que te permita ir armando poco a poco.
De acuerdo.
Vamos a ir con la lista. So in the chat we have a list of people that is asking to have some feedback. And let's go with Leo Delgado. Vamos con Leo Delgado.
I don't see Leo. Wait, where is Leo?
Ahora sí, Leo.
Ah, I see. Can you pin him?
Yo no puedo levantar la mano, pero me ponen en la lista.
Ya estás en la lista.
Ah, oui. Vale, pues.
Okay, I see Leo. Hello. Okay. Very nice. Interesting composition. I still kind of feel the effect of the baseline, but I see that you're also trying to break it and do something funky with it. That's kind of nice. It gets you to, like, it forces you to balance the letters in a different way, like without any constraints. The last example is kind of, it's kind of the closer in terms of like not really having a counter space, but still trying to figure out how to define a shape. There's maybe some issues with the amount of black in each letter, like U feels very, very black, very dark. And L and D feel very light. K also feels dark. Maybe there's something, make them narrower or just shave off some of the dark spaces in there. T also has like a lot of counter space. Maybe make the horizontal bars shorter to make it less clear. But other than that, very, very nice. Now, I think you would need to make these lines less straight and more round and add some serifs to them.
Gracias, Zrinka. Nada más como comentario, Zrinka le explicaba a Leo que, bueno, al parecer la última opción es la que le parece mejor, que está siguiendo más la receta. Concuerdo con ella. Creo que es la que tiene más expresividad, más ritmo. Y le sugería a Zrinka que cuidara sobre todo los espacios en blanco. Y en el espaciado en general, que tenía ahí unos grandes huecos entre las letras que debe de cuidar. Muchas gracias, Leo. Ahora vamos con Sandra.
Estoy en sagas.
Wait, I don't see you yet. Oh, okay.
Sí. ¿Puedes acercar un poquito?
¿Está prendido el celular? Espérate.
Yeah. We see it is just a bit far away.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, a ver, ¿cómo lo puedo poner? It's difficult. So here's some. This is hard. Maybe here. Give me a second.
Okay, okay.
Okay, it's better.
Okay, this is better. Something, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the first one in the outline, for those, I would like to see that one also with the fill. It's very interesting, the way you define like the S and the T with so little corner space, but they're still recognizable. The only thing that's kind of confusing is the way the diacritic of the S enters K, because if you color it all black, it's just gonna look like a weird connection between these two shapes. Maybe something can happen with that diacritic. It can be on the other side of the letter, or, and you know, feel free to experiment with the placement. Okay. The serify part just needs to be a little bit more pronounced. Like I can imagine that something is happening on the L at the top, but I wouldn't call it a serif. Like it needs just a bit more definition. Okay. I also like the other composition, the one that's more like dancing and stuff. Also, the shapes are quite good. So pick whichever composition you want and try to now work on resolving more the amount of black and white. For example, K looks a bit heavy in comparison to the U.
Yeah.
S is rotated by 180 degrees, so it's kind of hard to read it. So we need some consistency, but I think all these things are kind of better resolved in the first example, just needs to be with a fill.
Okay.
But it's easier to judge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ok, ¿lo puedes dejar un poquito nada más para explicarle a la gente en español?
Ya, estoy
Zrinka-
tratando de
Zrinka
enfocar.
comenta que le gustan las dos opciones y que parece ser que lo que sigue es más bien refinar el balance entre negro y blanco y sobre todo también trabajar más en la masa de las letras, es decir, que tengan una congruencia en la cantidad de negro que tienen.
Okay.
Hizo unos señalamientos particulares como la letra K y algunos espacios entre las letras. Muchas gracias, Sandra.
Okay. Galletas de animalitos, sí, así es.
Okay, let's go with Andrés Mego. Andrés Mego es el siguiente. Listo, okay. ¿Nos lo puedes mostrar?
Hey, Andres. Thank you. So in the top one, we have serifs, but we have a lot of straight lines. So we need more round shapes and maybe a bit less counter shape. You already put like counter in the R and in the K and in the S and U. It's also very defined. I think it would be good to not be so advanced, but to go like one step back and try to make shapes less recognizable. Try to see like what is the minimum amount of that, counter, or how you have to draw those curves to make it read as a letter. When it comes to the terms of composition, maybe the baseline effect is still kind of strong, but if that's your choice, that's totally fine. I think the diacritic on the S is it can be read as a circumflex instead of caron. And also the way it joins the T is not really the most comfortable way to resolve it. And also T looks like very heavy. What I would do for you is just like go one step back, draw more black and less counter, and try to balance out the amount of black and white.
Gracias, Zrinka. Zrinka le comenta, ¿lo puedes poner de nuevo un poquito? Por favor, nada más para que lo vean, gracias. Le comenta que se regrese un paso, o sea, que elimine las contraformas, explore más la forma de las letras sin la contraforma, para que él mismo pueda encontrar algunas formas más interesantes y una manera de resolver un poco distinto. Le dice también que la línea base está muy visible, que si eso le gusta, pues está bien, aunque yo digo que no, que elimine la línea base. Y le hace unas observaciones sobre el diacrítico que, bueno, para un croata es muy diferente, no existe el circunflejo, solamente el carón. Entonces, más bien que lo haga como al revés, está volteado de arriba hacia abajo. Y que la T está muy pesada y que en general trabajarás más la masa de las letras. Muchas gracias. ¿Quién sigue? Vamos con Fercosi.
Jen is such an amazing translate. Thank you.
Fercosi.
I see Fer is complaining in chat. What's happening, Fer? Life's hard. I don't think so.
Fercosi? Okay.
No? Where are you, Fer?
Okay, so next is Tam. Vamos con Tam.
Gente, ¿puedo compartir pantalla, por favor?
Ajá.
¿Sí? ¿Quién quiere hablar?
Tamara.
Okay.
No me escuchaban y no me veían y yo no ni enterada.
Ah, ya llegó Fer.
Es que no sé si me ven al revés o qué.
Te vemos bien.
Ahí va. Por acá va.
Oh, Fed, okay. Oh, very nice. What are you complaining? What's wrong? Oh, nice. I like the last one. Like it's so I read the word, but actually I have no idea what's happening. Yeah, it's like I can read it, but when I look at it a bit more, it doesn't make sense that it's what I'm reading. It's quite cool, I think. The way you join the letters. Wow, Fed, you're good. I think it's nice. Maybe in the beginning of the word, there's like a lot of big amount of black, and that should be something that should be a bit more balanced in the rest of the word. I would also try to make the same thing, but just a bit more defined, and maybe adding some serifs on top of that. The first one is also nice. I think it has very good balance between black and white. Minimum counter space, very nice. Some spacing maybe between T and U and L and E, but it's a sketch, so we can always do that later. But very nice.
I want you to know that I haven't drawn in pencil like in years. This
Good.
is so hard for me.
Is that why you're suffering? Oh, I just realized there's so much baseline. Can you do something?
Yeah. I will do that.
Gracias, Zrinka. Bueno, Zrinka le decía a Fercosi que le gustó mucho la opción donde tenía unida todas las letras, nada más que trabaje en refinarla más y ponerle y trabajar más la variación de la línea base o que no se vea la línea base. For people that is here for first time, I have to tell you that Zrinka never follows
the recipe.
Never.
I
So
do.
now she wants us to follow the recipe. That is not fair.
But he forced me to make a recipe for today because it's TypeCooker, and he said you have to make recipe, so I just had to make recipe. Maybe it's weird, but it's gluten free and I don't know, vegan.
Okay, vamos con Sam, ya puedes compartir.
Gracias.
Hi. Oh.
Hey.
Sorry.
Hi.
I don't know if you guys are seeing my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, okay. Very nice composition, very playful, very in the style of the dessert. I like that you did lowercase, even though we asked uppercase. I appreciate. That's very nice. I think just, for example, in these O's, we could kick out these counters for now and just see how that O needs to look to not, in comparison with other letters, to not look so dark, because O and U are quite heavy because they have 0 counters and are very big shapes. I think overall the shapes are very defined. Maybe if I would also try to make them less defined in general. For example, in the first one, the K is has a lot of counter space, and S2, U and E and O are quite nice, like going in a good direction. Maybe we can see how few more options how you could draw that. The other compositions are, I don't know do you have any favorite one that you would like to work on out of these 3?
I think like either 1 or 3 are my favorites.
Okay, so for the one, now, for example, the issue is between R and O, that the space below the O is quite big white space. So we have to see what we can do with it. Maybe something S can enter that space, or we'd add serif on the R, or O can be a bit lower. There's maybe some reading issues between T, R, and U, because in the beginning we suggest that we're reading K, R, O, and then in the second part of the word, my eye just goes from T to the R and then U, but it should be the other way around. So maybe just I'll try to reverse those shapes. Also remove some counters from K and S. Add some serifs. In the third one, I think it's too defined. So as I said, like I would remove the counter from the O, make less counter with the S, make maybe serifs more consistent, like L has very calligraphic approach and K has these little serifs pointing out. So it would be good to like unify them stylistically.
Okay.
So very nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gracias, Tamara. Zrinka le comenta en general que pareciera extraño, pero le está pidiendo que defina menos las letras. Le quiere decir que trabaje en eliminar las contraformas. Las contraformas son clave en la percepción de la letra, pero lo que pide la receta es que no hagamos las contraformas. Entonces va a ser un buen reto el que tiene Tamara. Gracias.
Gracias.
¿Cuál sería la segunda fase? ¿Ya habríamos empezado o vamos a...?
Ya, si ya te revisaron, ya puedes avanzar a la segunda fase, que en tu caso sería, déjame pongo como spotlight, sería agregarle las contraformas con líneas rectas, o si ya te quieres aventar la 3, te puede decir hasta allá, o sea, cambiar la construcción a itálica, hacer una variación progresiva de ancho y conectarlas.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay, so next is lettering. El siguiente es Miguel. Miguel, ¿vas a compartir pantalla?
No, voy a compartir mi cámara. Déjame conectarla, dame unos segundos.
Ok.
¿No estaba primero Erika?
No. We are following the list on the chat, so be aware of that. Estamos siguiendo la lista de los que están pidiendo en el chat. Entonces nos estamos basando en ese orden.
Ya.
Miguel. ¿O vamos con Erika?
Ya cargó.
Ok.
Okay.
Me dicen si se ve.
Pantalla.
Voy. Lo quito entonces.
Haciendo proselitismo.
No, lo siento.
It's okay. Okay.
¿Sí se ve?
Yeah. So I see how from the first paper to the second, the shapes were becoming more abstract, which is where we were going with this exercise. On the second paper, on the first paper, the last one has those like little serifs that are missing in the other ones. I think they're very, like the approach is very nice. They're like small and shy. It does need, the entire word does need more like rounded shapes. Maybe L has a lot of counter shape. Also the spacing between L and E might be a bit problematic, maybe a bit too big. There's some issues with how black certain shapes are. So S looks very fat, very chunky in comparison to O and U. K does have a bit too much counter space and it's very defined. So it would be nice to like step back, like something like you did with U or O, and see how you can reduce the counter space there. Also in the E, in the end, there's already a lot of counters. So I think, and it's fine. I mean, it's how we all draw. We have to put counters immediately, but maybe it will be just good to try to draw something like as if you're drawing from memory, where things are not so clear. So you're just trying to like guess how the line behaves. Is any of these your favorite that you want to work on in the phase 2?
I don't know. I have this one.
Okay. I think, yeah. Okay, we can go with that one. That one is very nice also, but it has the same, I would say, issues as the previous one from the other page. So before you add counters on top, we need just a black shape below. So with E, try to go more squarish, but with rounded lines. Also, maybe do not make ligatures between K and R right now, because they can be quite confusing. and also with think about spacing between S and the T. I see you're already thinking about it, trying to solve. Maybe it's still a bit too pronounced. And also, if you can distort the baseline, it will give you more things to manipulate to balance the shapes.
Gracias, Miguel. Zrinka le dice que, en pocas palabras, trabaje más en eliminar las contraformas, que retroceda un paso más. Sin embargo, le aprecia mucho que se vea esa evolución de letras más normales o convencionales a letras más abstractas, que eso es lo que se está buscando en este ejercicio. Y que antes de avanzar a poner las contraformas, trabaje más en la mancha negra de la forma, sin las contraformas. Creo que eso es algo que estamos sufriendo muchos ahora en este ejercicio, que no podemos definir la letra o nos cuesta trabajo definir la letra sin la contraforma. Entonces, lo que Zrinka recomienda es que primero exploremos esa parte antes de agregar la contraforma. Gracias, Miguel.
A ti y a Zrinka.
Next is Erika.
¿Me pueden dejar compartir la pantalla? El iPad.
You're good to go, Erika. Ya puedes compartir, Erika.
Ok.
Which one of these compositions you want to work on in the next stage?
I think the third one.
The bottom or the squares?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, those. The first one still has a lot of like baseline influence, and the shapes are still a bit constrained. I see how they develop more freely. I think it's very nice what you're doing with E, how you're constructing it from different rounded shapes. The small serifs are there, they're quite nice. I like also how you built the S out of these two circles that just go one into each other. I do think that in the last one, the diacritic on the S is maybe a bit too far away. It looks like it kind of belongs more to the T. In my opinion, the better composition is this one that's kind of squarish, because it has better balance between black and white. There are still some issues to resolve, like K looks quite dark, quite big. There's some spacing issues between T and U. That space is very, very white. Maybe you can kern some of that or make T a bit darker. I think O is just a tiny bit too small, needs to be just a bit bigger. But overall, I think it's in my opinion, the squarish one is the one I would now work on a bit more by even making the shapes more rounded, less defined, and think about how to balance the blackness. Like E, for example, in that one needs to be a bit longer or bigger, just to make it more unified.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Zrinka le dice que, bueno, decidieron que la opción más cuadradita es la que le parece más acertada y más interesante, pero lo mismo, que trabaje más en no definir tanto las letras. Y es algo que nos está complicando a varios. Entonces, pues, aparte de eso, que trabajen lo mismo que nos ha venido diciendo, tratar de balancear mejor la masa negra de las letras. Como no tenemos contraformas o no están muy bien definidas, entonces lo que nosotros tenemos que homologar o sistematizar de algún modo es la cantidad de masa negra que tienen las letras. Muchas gracias, Erika.
I see a question here from Calder Hansen. In this first step, you're kind of drawing like a base for adding things on top, for adding counters. And then when you add the counters, there's going to be a few new issues to resolve. So in this phase, just try to like vaguely draw the word, thinking about the composition and the balance of black and white. And then you will add counters, and then in the next stage, the thing you drew will be transformed into italic. If that clarifies, if that was the answer.
Okay, next is Eli Castellanos. Eli, eres el siguiente.
Great. Okay, maybe you can see them from there. Can you see them? Mobile.
¿Desde dónde mostramos tu trabajo?
En Eli Móvil. Estoy ahí también en la sesión como Eli Móvil.
Ok.
So Eli, which one is the last one?
This is the last one.
Yep. I see you already drew it with the counters and stuff. And I know that you have this need to like make everything by the book and nice, but now we need to like make things messy and less recognizable. I think E is still very much E, like it's very clear with the counters what you're drawing. Try to make it more rounded. Try to just like vaguely draw on top of it this shape that would be E. So think about what is the least amount of counter space you need to make that letter recognizable. I think in terms of composition, it's nice. I also like the first one and the second one. They could both work. There's just, I think, too much counter space that it's creating this big white spaces like in the U or counters of the K. And for example, S is very nice. R also and O, those are very nice. I think in terms of following the construction of those, you could just like alter all the others to make them like less specific.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gracias, Eli. Igual creo que los comentarios van en el mismo sentido de, por favor, no dibujen contraformas. Pero muy bien. Muchas gracias, Eli.
It's a bug. Who is next?
Vamos con Carlos.
Yay! Show me something. Calder. Yoo-hoo! I already saw counters. Oh, nice. Okay, very nice. Everything looks quite balanced. The only thing that's maybe jumping out is this white space that's created between RO LE, like that like a gap in between. Yeah, maybe just moving the O lower or L a bit higher, altering the space just a tiny bit. Oh, nice.
Wrong
It's
layer.
already step 2.
I also have a second idea here.
Oh, that's very cool too. Very cool. It's also, the lines are, I like that you made like a lot of concave curves. I haven't seen anyone draw that before. Very, very cool interpretation. If I were you, I would build both of them, but maybe since you started with the first one, to keep working on it. But if you feel like doing both, that's totally fine. Here it's nice that in this one, the notion of building a shape with multiple shapes, like I feel the K is built out of these 3 separate modules, like R also, and then S. Well, S might be confused for Z, so you have to see what we can do about that. Mhm. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was split. So, and now these 4 that you draw look very much balanced. The only thing is they're like still sitting on the baseline. I don't know if you plan to do anything, to do something about them. Yeah.
So
That
yeah,
could work.
I'm drawing
That
them
could
on the
work.
baseline right now, and then I can move them around a bit.
Very nice. And the previous one also very nice. In the previous one, I would just like resolve a bit that those white spaces that are jumping out, also the white space between R and U is quite strong. So maybe U can go a bit higher in the sketch and O can go a bit more down. But yeah, you can continue building on top of this. Very nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Calder. Zrinka le comenta que en general le gustaron las dos opciones que tiene, nada más que en esta primera opción cuide mucho los espacios en blanco que está dejando. Están realmente dominando la composición. Y en la otra opción que evite la ambigüedad en la forma de las letras. La S parecía más Z que S. Entonces, bueno, yo creo que ese comentario también va para todos. Vamos con el siguiente. Es Pepino.
A ver, ahí voy. Ahí voy. Ahí
Hey,
está.
Pepino.
Hi, I have two options.
Wait, are you showing? Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. Here it's one option and second option.
Which one do you prefer?
I think this option.
The bottom? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's quite interesting the way the composition it's like staircase. It just builds one level on top of each other. I think there needs to be some balance. Like it needs to be some balance between how dark some shapes are, and how you drew them. Like O and U look very very similar. They both look like O, or they both look like Q. Maybe we could do something like that. I think the K is maybe like has a stem that is too straight and a lot of counter space for now. Maybe try not to merge K in the R in this step. It will be easier if you draw them separately, because when you connect them, then you're kind of forced to put a counter immediately. I think the solution for the diacritic is very creative. Fits the composition very well. I think U feels like it's too heavy on one side in comparison to all the other shapes. Also, the contour of the U is very pronounced. So maybe just like correct these stuff like Q and O, and the connection between K and R, and the contour of the U, and just continue drawing on top of this. Like finish the work. Very nice.
Okay, thank you so much.
Gracias, Pepino. Bueno, le dice que refine más las letras y sobre todo que las defina más. Algunas contraformas y algunas uniones estaban siendo un poco confusas para solventar el diseño. Vamos con Jordan. Jordan, ¿estás ahí? Are you there, Jordan? Jordan a la 1, Jordan a las 2, Jordan a las 3. Parece que no está. Entonces vamos con el siguiente, que es, parece que es OM. Tommy was before? I don't see Tommy.
I'm here.
Okay, let's go Tommy and then...
She has long time ago.
And then Nietzsche.
Oh, sorry.
Hey. Oh, very nice. Oh, nice. I think the balance between shapes is all there. Like nothing really jumps out to me. I like the minimal counter space, still very recognizable, and they have serifs. So I think so far it's all great. I don't actually have much to say here.
Cool,
I would
thanks.
maybe make the diacritic on the S a bit bigger, but that's, I mean, that's like a minor thing to fix. And I think you can just move to the next layer and try to put these straight line counters on top of it.
Okay. Thank you.
You.
I was very inspired by your food picture. I've never seen these before.
Oh, thank you. That's nice to hear.
Ok, parece que Tommy se fue limpia bajo las críticas de Zrinka. Ok, vamos con, ahora sí, con Nietzsche.
Hi.
I just realized that I just took another word.
What is the word? It's okay. It's okay. I mean, if you want.
Not following the nut recipe.
Yeah, I like these rebels. Nice. I have my own words. Yeah, whatever you feel like eating, you know, it's all okay. I think the one on the bottom, if that was the last step, I see it's nice how the shapes became more abstract. They were like very defined in the beginning with a lot of counter space, and then in the last one, they have less counter space but more balance between them. I think the manipulation with the amount of black is really good. Maybe on E, the counters are maybe just a tiny bit too pronounced.
Okay.
Maybe there's something else to be done, but I think other than that, it's very good. So you can now move to the next layer and try to add straight counter shapes and see what happens. Like, well, you have to balance them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it's okay.
Gracias, Nietzsche. Parece que también se fue casi limpia de las críticas
Después
trincosas.
de un buen de bocetos.
Ok, pues ya casi todos deberíamos estar en la segunda fase, donde ya, o segunda o tercera fase, y ya los muy pro estarían llegando a la cuarta. So now officially we are in the second part where you can add counter shapes. Who is next?
I think I remember Jorge asking. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm following the chat.
Okay, sorry.
But I think we are done the chat. So who?
I think I'm going to your face, or I don't know.
Jen is such jefe. Good.
Is there's a list of who's next, or I'm already.
Go.
Well,
my marker just.
I don't see him.
To the other side.
Can you unmute me? Because my Zoom froze.
Do you see it?
Not yet. Give me 1 second. I think I have issue with Zoom.
No te veo. Ivan, where are you?
I have okay.
I don't see.
Trouble with my marker because it.
Wait. Just 1 second, because my Zoom is just frozen and I.
Okay.
¿Cuál es la opción que estás mostrando, Iván?
I want to show the process real quick because I had 4, but my marker just made this on the other side of the sheet, so this is not very legible now. But the final result is.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's very nice. You're already in the italic and connected and outline. I think it's very cool. The beware of the this space that's now created in the middle. Maybe you can do something to break it off because it's quite dominant. Maybe you can think about connecting more than one shape. Maybe you can connect to O, or L to S, or maybe some stuff can happen in there, or maybe you can sprinkle some sugar. I don't know. Looks quite balanced. There's some contours that are a bit problematic, like the contour between K and T. I think the shape looks quite complex in comparison to the other shapes. So maybe just to rework that contour a little bit. But other than that, it's very good. Nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have the one with the fill?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I see. Cool. Nice.
Gracias, Iván. Zrinka le dice que le parece muy bien la opción y todo su proceso, nada más que cuide a fin de cuentas los espacios en blanco que están quedando, porque pueden dominar mucho la composición. En este caso, aquí ustedes pueden ver cómo la forma que está en el medio, blanca, está dominando mucho. Entonces, nada más sería que se cuide eso.
Ganando mucho.
Muchas gracias, Iván.
Gracias a ustedes.
¿Quién sigue? Erika pregunta que qué es variación progresiva. Quiere decir que si tienes una letra que es, digamos, ancha, la siguiente letra tiene que ser más ancha y la siguiente letra más ancha que la anterior. So according to the recipe, Erika is asking what we mean by variation gradient. So means that one value has to be bigger than the last one. ¿Quién va? Jorge, vamos con Jorge. George, you're next.
Hola a todos. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
That one.
Oh, very nice. I think the composition is quite interesting. It really reminds me of the dessert. The shapes look very, very much balanced. Maybe L just looks a bit light. Maybe some serif on the top can be heavier, or just a bit more like weight in the stem to match the others. I think it's quite successful how all the shapes are still very recognizable, even though they're like, dancing around and very wiggly. The one thing that's only missing there is, I think, serifs. So I think just adding serifs and then moving on to the next stage of building on top of this, I would add counters, straight line counters.
So you think that because I added these blobby shapes that I think they are serif-like, but I don't know if they are not recognizable as serifs.
Maybe in L, I would say it's a serif, or S. I don't know if the blobby R's or K's would qualify as serif. We do have this like requirement for small and shy serifs. These ones would be then very, very big and prominent. But still, I mean, you don't have to follow the recipe.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. If you could try make one version with adding serifs on top.
Okay.
To see how it works, great. And then moving to adding counters.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Jorge.
Gracias, Jorge. Creen que le gustó mucho la opción que hizo, nada más le hizo algunas observaciones muy puntuales sobre el peso de la L, que estaba muy ligera, y que ya se fuera a trabajar completamente con las siguientes fases de la receta. Muy bien. Who's next? Who is next? Yeah, but I don't see the file. Sí, Andrea, puedes mostrar el boceto de Andrea. Mientras tanto, ¿quién quiere seguir? Oh,
Creo que ya está la pantalla.
Who's talking?
Someone's talking, but Andrea is on Facebook.
Ajá.
Ese dibujo viene de Facebook, de Andrea.
I like the fact that it's here. I have a feeling that the shapes were built by using like blocks, squares or rectangles, and then shaving off parts that are necessary for letter to be recognized. And I think this is a good base. And on top of this, we can make these shapes more rounded, less straight lines. There is some balance between blacks that is not working the best. Like K feels very heavy and S feels very heavy. L and T feel very light. Maybe trying to like reduce the width of the S or the height of the K. It's very playful composition, so it can handle like a lot of variations. But still, overall, when you look at it, the side where K and S are is very, very heavy. So what I would do here is just like reduce maybe the make T darker, like stem darker, so that it has less counter space on the sides and heavier in its weight. Reduce K and S, and in the E, I think the counters are tiny, but they're still there. So maybe try to make them just even less prominent if possible.
Ok, gracias, Zrinka. Le comenta a Andrea que trate de balancear más los pesos, que bueno, a pesar de que esto es muy da las posibilidades de jugar mucho con los ritmos de peso, de todas maneras se siente que la S, por ejemplo, está muy pesada y que la T y la L están muy ligeritas, entonces se recomienda que ensanches un poquito más los fustes para que tengan más peso en relación a las demás letras que no tienen contraformas. Y también te recomienda, Andrea, que elimines por completo las contraformas y hasta que no domines la percepción de la letra sin la contraforma, en ese momento puedas agregarlas. Muchas gracias, Andrea. Entonces, gracias, Tamara, por ayudarle a Andrea. Voy a parar tu pantalla. ¿Quién va?
Oh, I have here image from Ulises. He can join us in Zoom, but this is what he made. Oh, I can't show it because I have the...
Just block your background.
I have to remove it, right? Okay. This is what Ulises made. And I think it's very, very interesting composition. Maybe the counters are too defined for this stage. I think in this stage, number one, where we're sketching, would be good to just draw more black and less white. And then in the second stage, add the counters. It's the play with the placement of the acrylic is very playful, and I think it very much fits the composition, interacts well with the other shapes, the way they're all dancing on one or the other side. There are some white space issues like between S and T or L and E. That's why it would be great to try to draw on top of this one version that has less of white and more black, and then go back and put counters on those. That was the list, yeah.
Gracias. Ya, no puse atención. ¿Qué dijo?
En esta etapa había que prestar más atención al negro que al blanco, ¿no? Que tenía que rellenar un poco más las formas y definir un poco menos el espacio blanco.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jen went from pocas palabras to just 0.
It's okay.
Okay. Who wants to show next?
Leo Delgado.
Okay. The second composition is very nice, wavy, more balanced than the first one. I think in the first one, you did remove the baseline, but you kind of attached all the letters to this, the cap height. So there was still like magnetic to one line. In the second one, it was more like relaxed. I do think that in the second one, the contours are a bit too pronounced, like in L and E and U. Well, overall, the shapes are still very recognizable. But you can even like just use these, draw on top of this, shade all the white spaces inside, just color them, and then try to make a contour that has completely different straight shape and just put it on top of that. Other than that, I think the swoosh on the L is maybe very big, like it takes too much attention. Maybe make that shorter, and maybe work on some spacing, like the one between L and the E. Try to, on the S, think how the serifs from the other letters would apply to the S. Maybe T looks too short. Maybe the swoosh of the K is a tiny bit too big. But as I said, just like put a new layer, color all the white spots, and see what happens with weight distribution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gracias, Leo. Zrinka le comenta que le parece bien su proceso y cómo mejoró, cómo maduró su composición en la segunda opción. Que le parece más, que jugó más, que exploró más la composición en referencia a la primera. Sin embargo, le recomienda que, de nuevo, que elimine las contraformas, que explore más la forma sin la contraforma. También le comenta que la L, el swatch de la L está muy pesado o que es muy dominante y que en general tiene problemas de espacio que podría solventar calcando su dibujo y dibujar las letras de nuevo sin las contraformas. Muchas gracias, Leo.
No, gracias, Ken.
¿Quién va? Who's next? Go, Adriana. Adriana, vas. Déjate, doy permisos. ¿Vas a compartir pantalla, Adriana? ¿Dónde estás, Adriana? Adriana, where are you? Adriana. Adriana la 1. Adriana las 2. Adriana. Adriana. ¿Dónde estás, Adriana? Adriana, no vemos tu iPad. ¿Cómo se llama tu iPad? No vemos tu iPad.
¿Sí me escuchan? Hello.
Vemos el cuadrito de con tu nombre, pero no vemos nada. O sea, no vemos el iPad ni el video. Adriana, ¿nos escuchas? Ok. Mientras Adriana resuelve sus problemas técnicos, ¿quién quiere seguir? Someone else? While Adriana is fixing her technical issues. Vamos con Coyotu. ¿Dónde estás, Coyotu?
Acá ando, espérame. Ahí estoy. I want to show you some explorations. Sorry for... okay, I'm going to show you something.
Okay.
Oh, okay, this is my first pitch, but I just try something
Oh,
bolder.
nice. Uh-huh.
And yeah, I have doubts about the S, but
Oh,
yeah,
a lot of
I just
sketches. Nice.
for this one, I just draw over my fingers, and that was fun because yeah, it looks like the recipe is looking for something bolder and rounded, and yeah, I just make it fun and this process. So I'm just thinking on what I will do next.
Which one of these sketches is your favorite? Which
I
one
like
would you
the
like to work on?
fingers. I like the fingers.
Yeah, I think it's a very fun approach.
But yeah, I think I need to, yeah.
Yeah, I think you need some just to like rework the composition a little bit, because there's a lot of, there's 6 letters in the top line and 2 in the bottom. I think the shapes are quite interesting, but I have to see what you're gonna do with composition, because now there's of course a lot of issues between L and the E. K maybe a bit too straight. Needs a little bit of serifs. But it would be also good if you could just like color them quickly in black, just to get a better overview of what's going on. But if you could show me the first one you made, there was one. There was just like wiggly lines. I think it was the first one. I think this is also very nice. Like the S is interesting because it's just the curvature of the line that tells you it's the S. Doesn't really have much counter going on. I think you need a little bit something. Could be mistaken for an A, just a bit. But I also like this one needs to be just a bit bolder and attach some serifs. K is stenciled, so it's kind of too recognizable. Maybe K also needs to be resolved in a way that S was. If you could do that, it would be very nice to see.
Okay. Yeah.
But of course, pick the one that you enjoy the most. And
I just picked some different styles, and I just like all of them, but yeah, maybe
very nice exploration.
Gracias, José Luis. Zrinka le comenta de manera general que una de las opciones que mostró, que le gustó muchísimo la exploración que hizo, sin embargo, donde tiene sus dudas era en la composición, que a lo mejor puede trabajar un poquito más la composición. De la última opción que mostró, donde se ve minúsculas más cursivas, le parece que es la mejor opción a Zrinka, sin embargo le dice que trabaje en la que más le parezca. Muchas gracias, José Luis.
Gracias.
¿Podemos ver la receta rapidísimo? El resto de la receta, la avanzada.
En español o en inglés.
No importa, nada más verla. Listo, gracias.
Ok. Pues vamos con, ¿quién dijimos? Pulpo. Pulpo, you're next.
This is the pre-connected and encrypted.
This is already last step. Nice. So it's a good base. I think there's some reading issues between K and R. They could both be R. It's a bit hard to distinguish. In the way that the top line connects to the bottom line looks like it needs a bit more planning. Maybe this one connection is very weak. So maybe you need to connect them in more places. Maybe U can go inside the O and L inside the S, and then you can have all these lines that connect, all these letters that connect with each other. Because right now, because there's nothing there, it's just a big empty space that is kind of making the word fall apart. So maybe just think about how to connect these shapes. Also between L and the E, there's like a lot of counter space. I would work on that. And then between T and U, also a lot of counter space, and maybe T could be mistaken by a lowercase r. There's something in there. I think maybe just like rework the horizontal bar, or add like one serif on each side and fix the amount of white space in between. But other than that, it's very, very nice. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Gracias, Tipo. Zrinka le comenta que mejore la ambigüedad de las letras, de que no, sobre todo las opciones donde se confunden, pero en general le pareció muy bien que cuidara los espacios en blanco de nuevo. Es muy curioso cómo a veces trabajar sin contraformas nos complica un poquito la vida. Vamos a ir con Marco, que nos compartió desde Facebook. Dejen comparto pantalla. I'm going to share Marco sketch. He sent his work from the Facebook group.
Okay.
The microphone is over.
Oh, sorry. Let's go again. So I presume you're already moving to the stage 2 and or 3. If so, maybe some counters need just a bit more work, like U and L, or because the counters need to be straight lines, straight line geometric shapes, like you did with the counter of the R. But let's keep in mind the counter is not just this thing that's inside O or inside the ball of the R. It's also the space between the stem and the leg of the R, and the stem and the leg of the K. Also, everything that happens around the black space can be seen as a counter. So think about how to apply the same rule to all these white spaces. In terms of composition, I think it sounds quite interesting, and I like these little bits flying around, these little counters that turned from white to black. Oh, wait, it disappeared.
Going again.
Yeah, composition looks good. Maybe some shapes, like for example, T looks very small and a bit chunky, and U looks kind of light in comparison to E is very pronounced. Maybe I would just balance those things a little bit, or the horizontal part of the L looks kind of light. Or if you want to already move to the next step and add gradation to this, you can start by applying it from the top to the bottom, and that way it can stay big, and you can actually reduce step by step all the other shapes that are building on. It's very nice. Thank you.
Gracias, Marco. Zrinka te comenta que, bueno, no le queda claro si ya estabas en la segunda parte de la receta, y que si lo estabas, bueno, que todavía tendrías trabajo por hacer en eliminar las contraformas. Y bueno, de una vez también nos recordamos a todos que las contraformas también son esos espacios en blanco que quedan entre el fuste y la pierna de la K y la R, que no solamente piensen que en la contraforma son los huecos que quedan en la O. Eso mismo te comenta con la U y la E, que tú harías más primero trabajar sin la contraforma. Y también te comenta que, bueno, independientemente de las contraformas, que cuides el balance de pesos. Le parece que algunas letras están más ligeras que otras. Y bueno, siguiendo con la dictadura de Zrinka, que sigas la receta, que no quieras escaparte de hacer las contraformas rectas. Muchas gracias, Marco. Ok, ya estamos en la etapa final. Igual si quieren mandar la imagen o compartir pantalla de una foto de su trabajo para poder comentar. Y también los demás siéntanse libres de comentar. Nos están dejando los comentarios solamente a Zrinka y a mí. Recuerden que ustedes también pueden comentar. Pero igual les recomendaría que le tomen una foto y compartan la pantalla para poder hacer anotaciones ya en esta última etapa. So we are in the last part of this session. We recommend you to take a photo of whatever are you doing, or if you are working on the computer, to share screen so we can make annotations. And feel free to comment because we feel a bit lonely just speaking Zrinka and I. So,
yeah, feel free to comment and stuff and say whatever you want. It doesn't have to be type related. Food related, it's also good. Oh, I see here an image from Adriana. Is this yours?
Yes. Hi.
Okay. Hi. Finally. Did you
Finally.
get tamales?
No, I couldn't.
I know you missed them. Oh, so sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, awful. I feel bad now. Adriana. She shared an image in the chat. So you have to share a screen.
I'm clicking sharing screen.
Mm-hmm.
Does it?
Oh, Jen is going to share. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So the playful composition is very nice. It's nice how all the shapes respond to each other, like R leans onto the K and O leans to the R. Very playful. The only thing that I don't know if you wanted to already move to the stage, I guess, of the counters. Try to make counters straight lines, straight line shapes. So just try to maybe draw some, rectangles and triangles and place them inside where normally you would expect a counter. E in the end, I think it could be confused for O and a C. So if you could draw like a small triangle there, or two, depending if you want uppercase or lowercase. Try to just make it a bit more recognizable, and also put 10 counters in U and O, because this looks like kind of in between stage. Like some of them have counters, some of them don't. In terms of like the balance, the shapes are very freestyle shapes, so I guess it looks fine. So let's see what happens now when you add a counter inside of that. But very good. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
¿Alguien más tiene comentarios? Someone else wants to say something?
No. No one wants to say anything.
It's not that we don't want to say anything. It's just I think we're way too busy drawing.
Oh, okay.
Bueno,
sorry.
En español, bueno, lo que decías de las líneas rectas, y creo que también, además de cómo pues fluye un poco la línea base y la altura de las altas, también pueden rebasar un poco más algunos caracteres, ¿no? Por ejemplo, la S puede abrazar, pero por encima a la T, ¿qué otro? La E final, pues sí tener un poco más de protagonismo, ¿no? Para que no, no sea tan chiquito igual que la O. Creo que eso es lo que...
Okay, gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you. I think Fer wants to show stuff. She says she's suffering. That's a good sign.
Fer Cosi, vamos contigo.
Sí, come on. Fer is too judgmental towards herself. It's all good. All sketches are perfect. Just show them. Who is sharing? Daphne? Okay.
Oh, well, maybe. Like that, maybe.
Okay. I see that even though you try to break the composition in 3 lines, each line is still kind of very much attached to the baseline. It would be good maybe to like try to break that thing a little bit apart so that the shapes move a bit freely. I think the counters, were you trying to now go to the stage of counters being added on top of the letters?
Yes.
Yeah, so try to think of them more into like these basic straight line shapes and just maybe make them in a separate layer on top and just draw them on top of these in a white color and fill all the basic layer, just fill it all black and then see what you can do with them, where you can move them, how big they have to be or how small, and then what other issues they create. There's also maybe some spacing issues between like S and T and U, because it's quite loose in comparison to the top, and maybe L on the bottom looks very, very wide. And maybe I would just like fix those proportions a tiny bit, and I would fill all the counters on this base layer and then add new ones in a separate layer just by drawing white squares or triangles or even whatever other straight shapes you want.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ahí concuerdo con Zrinka. Hay que tratar de balancear más la masa de la letra. Y esta técnica de la que habló se me hace muy interesante, de que dibujes en una capa aparte, dibujes con blanco la contraforma. ¿Sí? Cual te va a ayudar a pensar en la contraforma como un objeto separado. ¿Alguien más quiere comentar? Ok, entonces vamos.
Gracias.
Yo. Vamos con Fer. Oh, adelante, Lee.
Creo que se ven muy separadas las letras, que deberían estar como más cohesionadas. Probablemente la S, bueno, no sé si estás intentando hacer la itálica ya, pero la S se ve diferente, como que looks like it's slanting a bit more than the other letters look upright, and the S looks slightly slanted, so maybe you could rotate that in order to keep the same angle. And probably the L is slightly wide. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Gracias, Daphne. Gracias, Eli. Pues vamos con Fer. Fer, tienes todos los permisos. Zrinka regresa en un momento. ¿Fue a tomar agua?
Ya.
¿O a deshacerse de agua? No me quedó claro.
No importa, cualquiera de las dos es válida. Puede. No sé si están viendo ya mi lips.
Sí.
No sé si es mejor el lápiz, o sea, estoy empeorándolo, pero por lo menos empecé a agregar las contraformas que dice que son rectangulares, pero no los estoy haciendo rectangulares, y perder la línea de base. Y por ahí voy. O sea, acá me quedó mucho, no sé si ven mi manito, pero acá me quedó un montón, como muy disparada la K. No llegué ni a ninguno de los pasos que siguen, pero bueno.
Pues seguiría ponerle las contraformas con líneas rectas.
¿Esta no vale como línea recta?
Con corazones.
Con corazones, sí.
Eso es spray paint.
Bueno, por acá voy.
Ok.
O sea, miren lo que era el dibujo igual.
Wow. Sí, no, sí se sacrificó un montón la legibilidad, pero si le echamos un poquito de fe, ahí está ahí están.
Yo me muevo en el campo de la fe.
Oh, very nice. Oh, nice. Just try, just now keep putting counters to make it just more readable. It's very cool. It's actually very readable.
Okay.
Or maybe it's, yeah, I would say it's good. It's wobbly and like you don't actually see the letters. Maybe I think maybe there's an issue with S and the T. I just need a bit more T in there. Other than that, cool. Put counters, more counters on top.
She said that she put already counters.
Ah, that's it? Okay, then I thought you were just working on that. Sorry, I just jumped in the middle of a conversation. I think that the one in the R and O are too thin. And I think the contour between a K and R is more dominant than the one inside the R and O. I think what you started doing with K and R, just that kind of the amount of white space and that kind of counter just needs to be like multiplied on the others. I think then U could use a bit more counter space also between U and the L, maybe on the top part where they meet, also a little bit of counter space. Maybe S can connect in a different way with a T, so the T doesn't get that wobbly. If you want to add some serifs on top of this, would be cool. If not, that's also totally fine. I don't want you to suffer too much. But
It's okay.
But also you can have two kinds of counters. You can have these big counter spaces like between K and R, and then these small ones in R and O. But then I would put the small ones inside E also. And inside the U, I will put those like very sharp and thin, and then these big ones in between the letters. But cool, very cool.
Bueno, en pocas palabras, me dijo que mejorara la contraforma. Me parece muy linda cómo resolvió la cuestión estilística de las letras. Sin embargo, sí le ayudaría mucho que definiera y hiciera más congruente las contraformas entre ellas. Creo que eso fue lo que dijo en pocas palabras.
Perfecto.
Okay.
Oh, guys, you're so good. I love this stuff. I'm having so much fun.
Who is next?
Yo quiero.
Oye, ya me perdí del orden que está en el chat. Igual si me salto a alguien, perdónenme. Entonces va Sandra y después va Federico y de Federico sigue Miguel y Miguel.
Who is Sagas? I see something here.
Sandra.
Jorge.
Ah, that's you. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Entonces
is this
vamos
cut?
con Sandra.
Can you? Did you cut these shapes?
No, just
it's drawn. Oh, I thought it was cut out. I was whoa. Very the only thing that's like jumping in my eye first is the stem of the T. Like it just feels too short, so just I would maybe just extend it and make it added a bit trapezoid space at the bottom of that so that it fits with the others. I think the contours are quite nice, very consistent. In general, it looks very cool. The only thing is that issue with a T. So I would fix that, and then maybe you will realize that space between ST and T and U is a bit big, but that can be also just fixed by putting S a bit closer to the T or T to the U. And that's it. I don't have more comments. Very, very nice. Contours, very cool.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else to add? Oh, Tommy says she loves this. Yeah, they're very nice. Very cool. Okay, I see here some images in the chat. So until Jen comes back to share stuff, I'm just gonna take a look at these. There's one by Federico. Are you there?
Federico.
Is he there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you show my camera, or I upload the photos in the chat?
Wait, just 1 second. I think Jen has to allow you to share. Can you just give it like 10 seconds? He's coming back. No, because you removed me as a host. Federico.
Okay, sorry. Let's go with Federico.
El millón.
Entonces ponemos la foto que compartiste en el chat.
Subí la foto al chat y está el mensaje que dice 11:51. Entonces sí. I'm in the first part. Sorry.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine. Which one of these do you feel the most comfortable with?
I think the number 6 is the best one.
I also think number 6 is the closest to. Oh, Jen, can you mute? Is the closest to the recipe. The only thing that I would fix in this one is make all the straight lines curves. So make it rounded, more curvy. Other than that, the composition, everything was very balanced. And I think the way you reduced counter space from the first ones is very successful. And it's good to see all the steps you took to get there. So I would just draw on top of this, maybe just more rounded shapes, and then move on to adding counters. And then just picking simple geometric shapes and placing them inside these ones. But I think that this number 6 is really, really nice.
Okay.
Great job. Thank you.
Creo que es la mejor opción, la número 6, Federico. Y agregando lo que te comentas, Zrinka, creo que tiene muy buen ritmo hasta aquí. O sea, creo que la K al inicio está como ambigua. O sea, yo la veo como una cajita. O sea, a lo mejor te faltaría como ampliar más el corte de la K, ¿no? To make the counter shape more noticeable in some way. Y creo que tu ritmo está un poco no definido. Aquí me gusta mucho que se siente como esta ola, pero creo que la podrías definir un poquito más. A lo mejor no tan evidente como la tienes aquí, pero algo por el estilo. Okay. So who is next? Federico and then Miguel. Miguel. Comparto lo que mandaste, ¿verdad, Miguel?
Por favor.
Okay, so I'm going to share Miguel. Oh, wow. I like it. But
No
not
vemos
digital.
nada. No vemos nada.
Soy egoísta, nomás lo estoy mostrando para mí. Espérenme, ahí voy.
Letter Inc. hizo mal la palabra.
Miguel.
Oh, wow, very nice. The first one, abstraction, is great. The shapes are totally weird, but we can all read them. I think it's very cool. They are a bit too straight though, but if you feel more comfortable drawing it like this, for now, also fine. If you want to give it a go and try to make something completely rounded, will be great. The way you're adding counters in the bottom one is very interesting. In some shapes like S, they kind of look, it looks weird at first, but then you realize that, oh, it might actually be creating a serif just by the way you place that triangle. So maybe I would add a bit more triangles in the K in the bottom to try to achieve the same effect of that triangle adding a, yeah.
Okay.
Jen is gonna draw for you. Also in the last E, I feel like I would need a touch of that like triangle everywhere. Like now all the shapes are calling for it. So just keep playing with these little triangles, try to make some bigger, some smaller, see what effects you can create. I already think what you're doing with this, creating the serif with just by placing a counter is a very nice path. Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Miguel. Concuerdo con Zrinka. Creo que la opción de abajo es la mejor. Aunque sí, igual el reto de hacer lo que hiciste recto redondo estaría interesante. Ojalá te animes a hacerlo.
Ok, sí.
Tú puedes todo.
Lo sé, gracias.
¿Quién va? Entonces dijimos que de Miguel seguía Jorge. ¿Vas a compartir pantalla, Josh?
I'm gonna send my file. Just give me a minute if you want to review someone else while I do that. That'd be great.
Yeah, but I'm following the list. Okay, so Erika, you're gonna share your screen?
Okay.
Erika, ¿vas a compartir pantalla?
Sí. Espera.
Adelante.
Sorry, I was mute. I think the way edit counters is very interesting. I think the one that's connecting K and R can just be a complete triangle. Maybe it doesn't need, wait.
Okay.
Sorry, 1 second.
We cannot draw on your screen, Erika, right? No podemos hacer anotaciones.
No sé.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
It's fine. Okay, I will explain verbally. I think the counter of the O, for example, is too big because it makes O look very light. So maybe you could just make that counter smaller. The counters of the S look like they need a bit more definition. For example, especially the top counter, it's not really clear what shape it is. In the bottom part, we do have some weight distribution issues, like T looks very light in comparison to the especially L or E, which should kind of share similar construction. The bottom of the L looks very dark, and you're aiming for the high contrast. Also, the bar of the E looks kind of thick for that, and the stem of the E very light. Maybe we could balance those things a little bit to follow the other letters. I do feel like the baseline effect is still kind of strong. Maybe we need maybe we can just resolve that by connecting the leg of the R with U from the second line, or S with L or E. Maybe something can happen with these shapes when they all become connected. And then once you connect those shapes, you're gonna end up with these new counters. So these new spaces created by top and the bottom letters. And then what I would do as an extra step is make all the counters straight. So some of them are kind of straight, like on the K, but in the L and U and E, like it looks like that straightness disappeared. So make sure all the white space is simple geometric straight line shapes.
Okay.
Gracias, Zrinka. Bueno, le dicen particularmente que cuide el peso de los fustes y de los trazos de las letras, sobre todo porque cuando agregó las contraformas, algunas de ellas quedaron muy ligeras, como es el caso de la O. Y que defina muy bien los aspectos que están un poco indecisos, como las partes de las serifas o algunos gestos de las letras. También que cuide mucho los espacios, parece ser que necesitan un poco más de refinamiento, y si es posible que trates de hacer las contraformas más rectas. Gracias, Erika.
My file is already at the bottom of the chat, Jen.
Okay. Let me share. Voy a compartir. Now you can draw.
So I added the tiny serifs and the counter shapes, like with high contrast and really angular straight lines. And I tried to connect it in the bottom one, to connect everything, and try to do sort of a gradient from thick to thin to thick again.
Yeah, I think they're quite, well, was the bottom one the final step, the outline step, or were you just drawing?
Yes, I was trying to do the outline kind of thing, but I probably should have played with the you know, with the fill, and then extract the outline from that. I think I skipped one of the steps.
That's totally fine. I just, the bottom one just would be nice if you could make it italic too. We can make shapes italic. I like the way you interpreted the meaning of connected letters here. Very nice how everything is just actually one single line, making so many letter forms. In the top one, some stuff is just a bit heavy, like O, or the head of the E or T also. I think maybe this variation, this variety of weight can be manipulated in a way that you have the weight going from lighter to heavier, or the weight from a bit more condensed to wider in the end. Other than that, I think you still have some straight lines there, like stems that could be a bit more rounded. And maybe, for example, if you just draw on the top of the bottom one, you could just freely try to imitate the outline. Just think of this as one big outline instead of, like, I don't know, 7, 8 letters, and then just vaguely draw and see how your word is going to look like in the end. That way you will get like a level of abstraction, but still be able to read, and you will kind of lose all the straight lines.
Yeah. That makes sense. Thank you.
Gracias, Zrinka. En pocas palabras, Zrinka dijo que no tengas miedo, Jorge. Que no te dé frío.
Problem of my story of my life.
Que lo haga itálico, que lo haga más itálico, y que intente explorar más las formas y ser menos convencional.
Actually, it was just starting with italic here.
Oh, nice. Muy bien. Okay, let me see. So on the list we have Eduardo Aire, then Angie, and then Tommy had to go. And I think for now, and Leo at the end. So let's go with Eduardo Aire.
Hi. Okay.
Oh, nice.
I don't know. It looks really dark.
Okay.
I think that's better.
Yeah, yeah. The way the shapes connect to each other creates very nice composition, and the counter spaces. Mute. The spaces in between the letters specifically, and not just inside them, look very balanced. The O, the contour of the O makes it look a bit thick. Maybe there's something that needs to be done there. Maybe also one side, maybe it doesn't need to be like this so squares. Maybe one side can be longer. You can just pull the one on the bottom, like you pull these serifs everywhere.
Okay.
In terms of weight, like it all looks equally dark. If I were you, I would maybe try to now make the italic out of this and connect it with an outline. Maybe I would, or first maybe draw a Roman just with an outline of the paper on top of it.
Okay.
I do think some serifs are a bit too long, like one between K and the R and R and O, but maybe they can be solved by making the leg of the K longer and serif shorter. Yeah, that's about it, I would say. Yeah, I would like now draw on top in the outline and see how you can tackle these little issues and try to make all the lines that you draw very rounded.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias, Eduardo.
Gracias.
Vamos con Angie. Let me download your photo. Oh, wow. Let's go with Angie.
Wow.
Yeah, very nice, solid composition. The way elements play with each other, very cool. The overall amount of black between the letters looks very balanced. It's very easy to read, even though the letters are all rotated and spinning. Jen is drawing counters for you. It's very nice how all the letters are connected through these like tiny little serifs that are peeking on the top. There's not much, like all the counters are straight, very good, and I like the way that you moved from this fill to the outline in this illustrative elements, and they still feel like they have a mass. They're not just a line. What do you now?
Powdered sugar.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, very nice. I think the only next step left for you is drawing everything in outline. Maybe the sugar can become, honey and can get a fill, and the shapes can just grow in the outline. And then when you try to build the same composition in outlines, make sure that it's like, try to make it more abstract, more flowy, more fluid, and see how it turns out. Yeah.
Cool.
Very nice exploration. Thank you. I think Jen likes it. Look how many hearts. Yeah, feel free to.
I agree with Zrinka that it's really, really nice, really balanced. And the amount of black is really even. And maybe if you are already there, Angie, maybe you can take it to the next step, as Zrinka said. Me gustó mucho. No sé si alguien tenga comentarios.
Que quedaron muy bien las contraformas, ¿no? O sea, bueno, en general, no nada más el interior de las letras, sino cómo fue balanceando. O sea, yo lo veo hasta como un dibujo de Escher, ¿no? Que, o sea, está como rotada la simetría del interior, ¿no? Entre K, R, S, E, y luego balanceado con el interior de toda la segunda masa interior, ¿no? La O, S, T, U, L.
Yeah. Very nice observation, yeah.
Thank you, Angie. Who is next? Okay, before going forward, remember that we continue the comments and the feedback in the group in Letrástica Comunidad. You can post there your final work so we can keep this exercise going on over there. Recuerden que, bueno, ya estamos casi por terminar. Los que no alcancemos los pueden publicar sus trabajos terminados en el grupo de Facebook. Inclusive, aunque ya hayan pasado, pues terminen sus dibujitos, terminen sus letras y publíquenlas ahí. Ahí sigue el intercambio de ideas y de comentarios. Entonces vamos con, creo que ya. Vamos, no. Nice. Leo. Okay. Next is Leo. And then Calder. Okay, I will share Leo's picture.
I see you put in the counters too in the second step. In the previous one, it is nice that you brought it to the next level of an abstraction. So you try to remove more counters and make the shapes less recognizable, but still it's very easy to read. I would say that T is maybe still too much T. Maybe it can get a bit weird. Also L, maybe the leg is still too long. It can be completely short because either way we would still know that it's an L. So maybe try to forget your, normal lettering skills here, put them on the side and just like try to destroy the shapes. But I think it's very, very nice. The second step you took with adding the counters, they look very consistent. These thin and long rectangles. The only, for example, shapes that are missing them are S, because S feels a bit out of the place, still feels a bit thick. Maybe you could put those shapes in the S somehow under some angle or completely horizontal. Also, then maybe you can play with the sides of the T. Maybe the horizontal bar can be so short so that the space outside of the stem is very thin, like your counters. And I think the L in the bottom one could, as I said, like could have a shorter leg, because it looks more like a sock. It's a bit too long. It's kind of jumping out of the other picture. Other than that, it's nice. The rhythm you achieve with them jumping on and off is very nice, very playful.
Thank you.
Bueno, le comento a Zrinka, Leo, que le pareció formidable cómo saltó de la primera opción a la segunda. Sin embargo, le recomienda que trabaje un poquito más en el ritmo y el espacio, sobre todo porque siente que está como muy disperso, digamos, la composición al final. Y cuestiones como la pierna de la R y la K y a lo mejor la barra de la L están muy, muy grandes y causan un poco de disrupción en la composición general. Y también le recomienda que intente explorar y jugar un poco más con los ejes verticales de las letras y que eso igual le podría ayudar mucho en la composición. Muchas gracias, Leo.
Gracias, Ken.
Y next is Calder. Okay. Oh, wow. Let's see. Oops. Inception. Sorry.
Ese es el mío.
I put mine in the chat.
color, he put it in the chat. It says color.
Es el que sería.
Okay.
Lo puso después que yo.
Yeah.
Very nice to see the weight variation from black to light. I think it's so nice to observe the counters, like the geometric shapes becoming so big that they create so much weight variation, because you actually were just making them bigger instead of shaving off the black. The composition looks very nice, and the width of the letters looks very balanced. I don't have much to say. If I were you, I would move on to the next step of drawing this in the outline and just try to make everything like connected one line, make it more rounded, and make make it look like one big shape that actually is all these letters inside. Very nice work.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Muy buen trabajo, Calder. Nada más siguiendo con lo que comentaba Zrinka, que me pareció muy buena solución, muy linda la variación de peso y muy buena estrategia en cómo resolver las contraformas. No sé si alguien más quiera comentar algo. Okay.
I think that the contrast at the beginning is quite not there, but is well solved in letters like the U, where you did the interior shapes lines and exterior curves, and I think it can benefit from the first part of the letter, the KRO. A little bit more of that effect.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Ya concuerdo con Iván, dice que a lo mejor el contraste que no se ve en la K al principio podría beneficiarse de lo que él mismo está dictando en las demás letras. Muy buena observación, Iván. Muchas gracias. Vamos con... ¿Quién sigue? Ahora sí sigues, Iván.
El que habías puesto, ¿no? Creo. Bueno.
Yeah. It was there. Ooh. What happened? It went wild. That escalated quickly. Nice. Yeah, it looks like a total mess, but I can read it completely. I think you should cut this out of paper because it looks like it will look so cool cut out. The only thing maybe that I would work on is the space between L and the E. Like there's something a bit weird happening there. It's like I'm not sure if I'm reading the L. Maybe just needs some intervention, like the between L, so O, L, and E. That white space is kind of confusing. It doesn't really jump out because the entire thing is very confusing at first. You know, at first you're like, oh, what is this? And then you realize that you can actually read that. So maybe I would just try to rework that one. Yeah, I like what you did with S. It looks like, you know, a person that's having a weird posture. I don't know, it looks funny. Very nice. Also, you could just move on to the next step and do this in outline and like rounded outline and see what happens there. I think this is fine. There's not much to say.
Gracias, Zrinka.
Perdón, Gen, no entendí lo del último paso.
Que ya lo hiciera directamente con puro contorno.
Ah, ya, ok.
Y bueno, también le decía a Zrinka Iván que aunque le parece muy linda y muy impactante todo el trabajo, hay algunos puntos de confusión, sobre todo en las formas blancas que quedan en el medio, que igual busque la forma de que eso no suceda, que busque los códigos necesarios para lograr mejor identificación de las letras del medio sin romper como todo este trabajo de abstracción y de propuesta gráfica. Muy bien. So, who is next? Vamos con Coyotl, ¿verdad? Es el último. Entonces vamos a cerrar con Coyotl y recuerden que podemos seguir esta actividad en el grupo de Facebook. So we're gonna go with José Luis. He's gonna be the last one. And remember that we can follow feedback and please post your work in the group, Facebook group, Letrástica Comunidad, to continue doing this over there. I'm gonna share Coyote's work.
The composition is very improved. I see now looks more unified, feels like one piece of lettering. I still do have a bit of an issue with this stencil. Maybe if you just connect with the top diagonal of the K with the bottom one, and it's gonna be already better, because it creates a lot of new counter spaces. I think the E maybe jumps out a little bit from the other letters, maybe because it's too straight. I see that inside you have this like little outline inside of E where you're maybe thinking about making it rounded. I would try to make it rounded also, maybe with an L, something where I would achieve like certain similarities between T and L and E in these rounded bottoms. I think counters are very interesting, and I like how the S is resolved, still has a minimum space, and really hugs well the composition. Other than just fixing these two things, I would also, as the others are moving on to the last stage where you will like draw the same thing, but with outlines and make sure it's all connected. No stenciling, no counter shapes, just like outlines, and see what happens with there. But very nice.
Muchas gracias, Zrinka. Bueno, José Luis, parece que le gustó mucho tu propuesta y nada más te invito a que mejores ahí el trabajo y que pases a la siguiente fase de trabajado en puros contornos. Le salta la letra E, que parece que no encaja con el código gráfico que venías marcando con las demás letras. No sé si existen más comentarios. Anyone want to...
Yo creo que quiso hacer como un buen balance entre forma y contraforma. Nada más que sí, como dice Zrinka, se complican un poco las contraformas ya viéndolas en relación a que las letras están construidas de menos piezas, ¿no? Y ya nada más, bueno, la forma que está en medio, que debajo de la O, como que de repente trato de distinguirla como una letra, pero veo que no es. A lo mejor puede ser como un rasgo de la U también o de la L para contrarrestar así como ese espacio blanco, ¿no? Sí.
Ok, gracias, Iván. Pues muy bien, creo que ya estamos cerrando la sesión. Los invitamos a que pongan sus cámaras para hacer la toma oficial de TypeCooker número 8. So, okay, let me stop sharing. So, please come with your camera, with your video to see your faces and take the official photo of this 8th episode of TypeCooker in Letrástica. Okay, I'm going to take the photo of the first page. Oh, ¿cómo puedo apagar a la gente que no tiene video?
En las opciones de video, hay configuración de video, en general hay una que dice desactivar, ocultar participantes sin video.
Ok.
En la cámara, configuración de video, dice reuniones abajo y dice un punto, ocultar participantes sin video. Le pones para
Ok. Go, picture number 1. Oh, we have only one page. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Smile. Muchas gracias a todos los que aguantaron esta dictadura autoritaria de Zrinka.
Actually, we want more.
Oh, it wasn't that bad. Come on. Maybe it hurts now. It's gonna feel less pain next time.
I think you're projecting something into the session, Jen.
He just wants to portray me as this, I don't know, horrible dictator. No.
I think it's the opposite, it's an anarchy.
Estuvo muy bien. Muchas gracias a todos los que asistieron. Claro que solamente es broma lo que digo de la dictadura. Pero sí, a veces uno piensa que hacer letras muy expresivas o muy casuales es más fácil, pero también tiene un nivel de reto muy importante. Entonces yo creo que aquí nos quedó presente ese aspecto. Pues muchas gracias a todos y todas. Los invitamos a que publiquen sus trabajos en el grupo para seguir con el feedback. Thank you very much, everyone. I don't know, Zrinka, if you want to close the session immediately.
Yeah, thank you everyone really for coming and enduring this. I don't know if it was really that hard or bad, but I love what you've done. And the way everyone interpreted the recipe differently. I think that's the point of every recipe, that you have this freedom to actually put a bit of yourself in it. So everyone's result is a bit different, and you're not really, when you look at them, you can't really tell what the recipe told you, kind of vaguely. I would love for you to post your stuff later in the Letrástica page if you want to keep working on it or not. Would love to see them in one place and get an overview of what you did. Thank you once again for doing such an amazing work. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Ciao.
Bye bye.
Ciao.